So these days, AI writes a lot of the code. I mean, major companies are building entire products with millions of lines of AI-generated code, and they're doing it in a fraction of the time it would take a person. And that right there is a massive shift. But it creates this totally new challenge. How do you manage? How do you supervise? And, how do you trust code that you can't actually read yourself? This is where we enter the new world of harness engineering. Let's break down what it is and why it's so important.
I mean, just think about that for a second. No more wrestling with syntax, no more trying to remember some obscure command you used 6 months ago. You just describe the vibe of what you want, and poof, the software just appears. It sounds like magic, but it's becoming very real. And yeah, welcome to the world of vibe coding, because this isn't some niche idea anymore. Companies like OpenAI are using this exact method to build huge, million-line products. They are literally just describing what they want and letting an AI handle the nitty-gritty.
Okay, but this leads to a pretty big question, right? If you're not the one writing the code, who is? And maybe more importantly, when you hand over the keys like that, can you really truly trust what's being built under the hood?
The best way to think about the AI writing your code is to picture it as an intern. A brilliant, incredibly fast, maybe a little over-caffeinated intern who is super eager to please, but has absolutely zero context about you, your project, or why you're even doing what you're doing.
And here's where it gets a little dangerous. See, a normal intern, if your instructions are a bit fuzzy, they'd probably ask for clarification. But this AI intern, it's a total people pleaser. It doesn't want to bother you with questions. So in every little gap, in every ambiguity in your request, it just improvises. It makes its best guess and confidently plows right ahead.
These improvisations, the parts you didn't ask for but got anyway, you can basically think of them as the intern's fan fiction. It's filling in the blanks of your story with its own ideas. And this is where some serious, hidden risks start to creep into your project. This really reframes the whole problem, doesn't it? Every single time you leave something unsaid, you're not just being unclear. You're actively handing over a design decision to the AI. You've delegated control without even realizing you did it. And all of those unaudited assumptions, they really start to add up. They create this thing called trust debt. It's a lot like financial debt, It doesn't make a lot of noise at first. It just compounds quietly in the background until one day, usually at the worst possible moment, the bill comes due.
And when that bill comes due, it can be absolutely catastrophic. In one real-world case, a vibe-coded app with AI-generated security flaws that came directly from these hidden assumptions, exposed the personal data of over 18,000 users. That's not just a number. That is the real cost of trust debt.
So how in the world do we prevent this? How do you manage this brilliant but, let's face it, kind of reckless intern? Well, it starts with a really simple but powerful technique, the two-translation habit. Now, the crucial part of this whole loop is that you stay in plain English the entire time. You're not reading code. First, you get a translation of your idea to make sure the AI is on the same page. Then, you get a translation of the final product to make sure it actually built what you agreed on. You're just comparing the two stories. Okay, let's break it down. Step 1. Before a single line of code gets written, you tell the AI, hey, explain back to me what you think I want and list every single assumption you're about to make. This is your chance to catch that fan fiction before it happens. Then, step 2. Once the code is made, you copy all of it. Open a totally new chat with a different AI, and you ask, explain exactly what this code does step by step. Any gaps between the plan and the reality will just jump right out at you.
Now, this two-translation habit is fantastic for personal projects. But what happens when the stakes get higher, when the system gets way more complex? Well, you need to scale up. You need to move from a manual habit to an automated system. You need to build a harness.
And this slide just illustrates the difference perfectly. A conversational check, the habit, relies on you right here, right now. It depends on your attention. But a harness, that's a structure you build, a whole system of automated tests and constraints that is always watching, making sure the code is behaving itself, even when you're asleep. And this is the new discipline that's emerging in the age of AI, harness engineering. It's not about writing the code inside the box anymore. It's about meticulously building the box itself, the constraints, the tests, the guardrails that make sure whatever the AI spits out does exactly what it's supposed to do and absolutely nothing more. And this might be the most important thing to get. Building a harness sounds really intimidating, but it doesn't have to be.
Just think about a thermostat in your house. It doesn't need to understand thermodynamics to control your furnace, right? It just needs to do two simple things: measure the temperature and turn the system on or off. The harness is just the thermostat for your code.
So all of this is leading to a fundamental change in what it actually means to build software. The most valuable skill you can have is no longer about how fast you can type on a keyboard.
Your job is shifting. It's no longer mainly about production, about cranking out lines of code. It's becoming about regulation. It's about specifying what you want with extreme precision, putting constraints on the system's behavior, and then verifying the output. You're basically transitioning from being a coder to being a manager of an AI workforce.
And here it is. This is the absolute core takeaway of this entire explainer. Vibe coding means anyone can now tell an AI to write some code. The barrier to entry for syntax? It's pretty much gone. But the barrier to thinking clearly and systematically about what you're actually building, that hasn't just stayed, it's actually gotten higher.
And let's be honest with ourselves, this was always the real work, wasn't it? The hard part of any project was never the typing. It was the deep, focused thinking that came before it. All AI is doing is automating the typing, which leaves us with the most essential, the most difficult, and frankly, the most valuable part of the job. So, that enthusiastic, overcaffeinated AI intern has already reported for duty. It's here. The only question left is, are you prepared to step up and be the manager it needs? Are you ready to be the boss?